What is up, Steeler fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Hangover. I'm Daniel, alongside with me, Shannon White. And as the title says, it's the final countdown. How are you doing, Shannon? How's it going?
It's the final countdown. No, man, I love this time of year and kind of see how the initial roster is going to look and seeing where our predictions were right and wrong. And so I'm looking forward to tonight's show and spending an evening with you and our community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's an interesting day. A lot of stuff has gone down. So the Steelers make some more cuts. I don't know if are they at their 53 yet, or they've just gotten
they're
closer.
At 66. They got to do 13 more tomorrow.
Geez, so a lot more news to come. But they released a few, and in the cut that shocked the world, the most unexpected cut I think of the day, Cameron Johnston, punter, gets notified. I don't think he's actually been cut. I was watching some of the news outlets there, and I think he's been notified that they're going to release him. Similar to Ben Sauls, I think they're trying to find a trade partner before the deadline. Yep. But surprise! How were you shocked that they went with Corliss Waitman?
The official term, I think, is going to be terminated, but they haven't made it official yet. So that way, if somebody wants to say, "Hey, I'll give you something," seventh rounder, so that we don't have to be in a bidding war, if they hit the open market or put a waiver in.
Right.
So I think it's smart. See if you can still get something. As far as Waitman, I'm not shocked. He's 3 years younger than Johnson. He did a great job last season. He really had one punt you could say was a shank all season. One of the better, most consistent punters last year in the NFL. It's funny, Daniel, at a position the Steelers usually struggle to have one competent kicker. This year they had two. So nothing against Johnson. Johnson is a heck of a punter. Wish him nothing but the best. We didn't really get to see how good he was because he got hurt so soon, early last year. But no, Waitman's younger. He's cheaper. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think it was a good move. You're right. The Steelers are going to save some money by making this move and possibly earn some draft capital if somebody is willing to, if they're willing to have a trade partner. Let's just say there's two teams that are interested in him, because this is the only way a team's going to trade. They're already aware that the Steelers are going to drop him. Maybe if they get wind that another team might want to sign him, and to avoid that battle of trying to sign him, they want to get it taken care of right then and there. And so,
how many seasons would it have been the Steelers if this would have happened, say, for another team? Usually the Steelers are one of the teams wanting to snatch up a guy as good as Johnson. I mean, he's an excellent kicker. This was just so strange this preseason to have two NFL caliber punters at the same time.
It really was. It really was. And I mean, you arguably could say four if you talk about Ben Sauls and Chris Boswell as far as the kickers go.
Definitely. Yeah.
I thought Sauls did an excellent job. I think the writing obviously was on the wall. It doesn't matter how good he could have done, with what Chris Boswell has put on the field, in stadiums, in those moments, in those situational football in the fourth quarter and overtime, when he needs to make a big kick, he usually got it. And so no doubt in my mind that they were going to ever consider cutting Boswell or letting him go.
When Sauls missed that kick that would have made it a tie game, well, it would have given them the lead at the moment in their only loss of the preseason. When he missed that one, I thought, he hasn't really impressed me much. But last preseason game, 4 of 4, and there was even a over 50-yarder in there. So he showed he had a little more leg than I thought he did. If you remember, Boswell struggled mightily from over 50 when he first came in the NFL. Guys can learn. They get stronger. They get better at distance. Because all kickers now got to make 50s, even 60-yarders. So, I think that Sauls really equipped himself well this preseason. And I think somebody will give him a shot, yes.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to end up as one of the 32 kickers in the league, no doubt in my mind. And thank you, Pickens. You big dummy. I appreciate it.
Great name.
Say good evening and prayers to my father. Yes. For those that weren't aware, my dad had surgery here not too long ago, open heart surgery, and he actually just got home not too long ago. And so surgery went well. He's doing well, and thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, praise the Lord. I asked you earlier to, I was checking on him periodically, and then you told me, you said he might be able to come home, and then you told me right before the show he's home. I said, I know, I've been through that. I know how happy you are to get home. So I don't know if he watches or listens, but God bless him and for complete recovery and pain management, and it's just a blessing.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody as well. I appreciate it. Another going back into the conversation. So another surprise cut, so to speak, or maybe not so much a surprise cut, but a guy that's been on the team for a while, has been a project. Inside linebacker Mark Robinson, no longer on the team. He was a special teams guy, in my opinion. I think he really thrived in the special teams. Oh, wow. Kenny Pickett just got traded, apparently.
Yep, to the Raiders.
That guy's been.
Hey, they got a 5th rounder out of him.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That is insane. That's insane. I didn't know that. Well, congratulations to Pickett going to his, what is that, 4th team now?
4th, yep.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost there. You're on your way to Fitzmagic.
Yep.
So, Mark Robinson. Are you surprised? What are your thoughts?
I was the Steelers desperately needed a inside linebacker that would be a thumper when they picked up Mark Robinson. And I was really encouraged by, his history as a running back in college before making the shift to inside, where he could read the running backs. He thought like a running back. He would meet running backs in the hole a lot of the time because he kind of knew what they were looking for. But his coverage just never really was up to par. And he's really good as kind of like a Landon Roberts 2.0, a cheaper version. So I thought he might have a chance to hang around another year. But when Mark Bruner's kid, is it Carson Bruner?
Yeah.
When he played so well in the preseason, and he's a little more fluid. He's not quite as good against the run, but he's better against the pass than Robertson, and he's good on special teams, which was one of the calling cards for Mark Robertson. So again, you're going younger and cheaper. And with the Steelers trying to, they got some big moves coming up even next year and the year after. So they're trying to make sure they have cap space, and they might do something between now and the start of the season even. So by going younger and cheaper, again, it didn't shock me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Going younger and cheaper, that's probably going to be the theme.
Yeah.
And not just with the Steelers, but with most teams. And this is why I think a lot of the reason why they haven't gone out there and acquired a wide receiver too, so to speak, because I think they feel that there's going to be some that are going to come up available, whether by trade or by cut. And so, although I don't think Mark Robinson meets the same criteria as somebody looking for a wide receiver too, he was a bright star on the special teams. And you're right, with Bruner, younger and really showing himself on special teams. Yep. I think that really,
and he's lineage.
That's true.
Yeah.
That doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. Other players that they released, defensive lineman Kyler Baugh, linebacker Julius Welshoff, defensive backs Deshaun and Jameson and Daryl Porter. Daryl Porter was number 39, kind of looked like little Minka out there for a second. Offensively, Stephen Jones, Aiden Williams from the offensive line, tight end J.J. Galbraith, running back Lou Nichols, wide receiver Max Hurlman. Another one that maybe perhaps some folks were thinking could make the team. Not so much. No surprise there.
No, I thought he was going to have a real shot because he can play he could be number wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6. He could be running back 4. He could be fullback. He could even play corner. He could punt return and kick return. I thought that, he had a chance to let him, keep another couple of guys they wanted to keep around and not exposed to the waiver wire towards the bottom of the 53 by keeping Hurlman because of that versatility. However, when he dropped that touchdown in the second preseason game, that kind of sealed his fate. And I said on the Pump Your Brakes last week, I think he's destined for the practice squad. And of course, he's in this second round of cuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he might make his way back. I wouldn't be surprised if, Mark Robinson finds his way back onto the practice squad if he ends up not getting picked up by somebody. It
could happen. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised there. Another wide receiver that was dropped was Lance McCutcheon. He had a good showing. And then you had Ben Souls and Cameron Johnson. No surprise, really, to be honest with you. How do you think that it's going to move forward from here? I mean, there's how many positions left? They're down, as you said, 62.
They need 13 more cuts. Now, it might not all be cuts. They might be probably a couple guys going on the injured reserve.
Okay.
It could be more than 2, but only 2, I think, could go on destination to return, which I think is 4 weeks.
Right.
So I think there'll be a couple of them, which wouldn't shock me if it's Will Howard, and it could even be Herbig. If this hamstring is something that they think might linger for a couple of weeks, they might put Herbig on there as well to make sure, because, his game is predicated on speed. So if he can't play, explosive off the snap, and he's kind of playing tentative, he's not going to be very effective.
Yeah.
So where he's the smaller outside edge. So it wouldn't shock me to see maybe them 2 guys start on the IR. So that would give you 11 more cuts. So it's going to be interesting. Some of the ones we thought might be, fringe guys and they're having a tough time making a decision. I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, with Herbig, I thought it wasn't. Well, I know they haven't really come out and classified anything yet. The first injury report isn't due yet. But it didn't seem like it was one of the higher graded ones. He seemed he was on the sideline afterwards, kind of walking around and things.
Yeah, it was like a grade 2, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And so, there's been a lot of time since then. There's a significant break between the last preseason game and the first regular season game on September 7th. And so, he'd have to be pretty close to missing still 3 weeks after that for them to, I think, consider it. Because I think if he's only going to miss 1 game, maybe 2, I don't know. I don't know if you want to put him on IR. And I think there's 2, right? Where they can come back after 9
One
weeks.
would have to be Derek Harmon.
Well, they're not putting him on. They already said that they weren't. I think I already saw something saying they weren't.
I agree with you. I think I did see that as well. Because they were talking about maybe putting him on there, but I do think that they did say that. But the only thing about, like I said, we've seen Alex Highsmith 2 seasons try to come back and then end up straining it again and miss more time. That's really cut into his productivity in 2 seasons because he strained it twice. And I just know where Herbig is such a quick twitch, explosive athlete. He is even more apt to not be able to play it as effective as he normally does if he's not close to 100%. And he's apt to pull it again. So that's the reason I thought that might be an option for him. But we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I think Will Howard, as you mentioned, might be a guy that they are looking at possibly putting on the IR if they don't have some sort of trade partner for either Mason Rudolph or Skylar Thompson. I'm sorry. Because I think Skylar Thompson, he showed himself well. I thought he did fairly well, but I think it was what Tomlin indicated that Will Howard was getting ready to prepare for a full week of work and stuff like that. That doesn't sound like they're going to put him on the IR. Because he wouldn't be allowed to practice or do anything if he was on IR. He can only do rehab and do the classroom stuff.
Yeah, but if he only misses 4 weeks, I mean, to do that, to me, they're saying we don't want to just let somebody poach Skylar Thompson. They'd like to try to trade him for at least a pick.
Right.
And so they would probably try to, I would say, put Howard on the IR to start and try to see what happens in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. You might end up getting even better than a 7th rounder for him if a team's desperate for a quarterback. I thought that Thompson played against a lot of the same. I know that Mason started the games.
Right.
And then Skylar come in. But usually they both kind of at least had one series against the same defense. Because some of the teams didn't play any starters, and then some did. I think one team played the starters. I can't remember which one. And then the other two played their second stringers. So they were both going up against pretty much the same level of competition, except Skylar didn't have the starting line.
Yeah.
And I thought Skylar really was more effective and efficient and really did a good job. But I understand Skylar Thompson, it's his 4th year in the league, I think. No, maybe this is 4th. But he's a preseason warrior. I mean, he's had some wonderful preseasons with Miami. And, I mean, he just, he flashes in the preseason where his athleticism and, where we played at, I think it was Kansas State, and he was running for his life all the time. And so that setting, the preseason setting, he seems to really flourish. Now, it isn't the same in season when he's had to fill in and start. So, but I do think that there's some value there. I think that I liked all the quarterback play this preseason. I thought Mason, other than a couple of bad passes, pretty much played well. And I thought Thompson was, like I said, he's a preseason standout. He's a darling. So, but yeah, it wouldn't shock me for them to try to get something out of him and not, him not be one of the cuts yet.
Is there a limit on how many players you can put on the 4-week IR?
Yeah, I don't know what the limit is.
That's the only thing that would concern me about that is if you had some sort of limit on the 4-week IR.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to use that on Will Howard, 3rd string quarterback at best for this year. Right. Yeah. I don't think he's going to go up. I don't know. That's a smart move there either. It'll be, it seems like I think the Steelers they're definitely going to pick up the phone if somebody calls. Do you think they'll pick up the phone if somebody calls for Mason? Do you think they would roll? Do you think they would have enough confidence in going with Skylar Thompson as number 2?
I don't think so. As we know, Tomlin likes experience.
That's true.
And he knows Mason. Now, he wasn't always the biggest Mason fan.
Yeah.
But he knows what he's capable of when he led him to the playoffs, when he made those last 4 starts, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we know what Mason could do. And honestly, I think this team has more talent than that team. He'd have hopefully more overall talent at the skill position. And I believe definitely a better offensive line than Mason dealt with in his previous success at the end of his first Steelers stint. So, and the fact that they have Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be 41, 42 in season, you want an experienced backup.
Yeah. I agree. I think what Mason has done in stadium probably means a lot to Tomlin, and that was in the Steelers stadium too. So it wasn't like a performance from outside. So I probably think that they would be more for setting off Skylar Thompson on his own and acquiring something for him and bringing in Will Howard as the 3rd quarterback so that he can start to practice and stuff like that. Because if they IR him for the entire year just so they can keep Skylar Thompson as that 3rd quarterback, I mean, that doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you're gonna IR the potential future so that you can keep a third string guy around. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to cut Howard. I
No, of
really
course
don't.
not.
I think there's people. I know he's a 6th-round pick, but I think that just from the reports coming out of camp, what Rogers has said, what Ben has said, what we've heard the coaches say, I think Will Howard was kind of a steal in the 6th round because a lot of people looked at him like I did. And I fully admit, I thought that he was successful because of he was on the most talented team in college football last year.
Yeah.
I mean, look how many guys got drafted. Look at the guys that are returning for Ohio State this year. They got and their receivers were always incredible. So I'm like, was that why he was so effective? In that playoff push to win the national championship. But then you see him with Gruden, and you see his intelligence and how he understands what he's seen. He understands concepts. He understands, going through your progressions. He understands, and he has enough talent to play the position. A lot of guys have the intelligence, but they don't have the physical attributes, or they have the physical attributes, they don't have the intelligence. AKA Justin Fields, Anthony Richardson, all the guys we've seen just recently that couldn't put it together. So I think that you have something, regardless of how this season goes, the Steelers still are going to need their franchise quarterback in the future. And it's worth keeping Howard around to see how much he can develop because I think the talent and the intelligence are there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think he does have some attributes. I would have loved to have seen him play in preseason to see what he would have been able to do in the field in an NFL stadium against NFL talent. I think it was a really big missed opportunity because even though he does go in and practice, I mean, he's the third string guy. He's going to be the scout guy. There's not going to be you're not going to really get to watch him perform the game plan against the opponent that you have this week because reps are limited, and you're going to want Aaron Rodgers. And all accounts, Aaron Rodgers likes to take every rep he can.
Yeah.
But you want him to take as many reps as possible, so that way he's most prepared for the team that they're going to be playing against. And you're going to want Mason to be somewhat prepared because in case something happens to Rodgers and he needs to go in, I don't really think you prioritize any of those reps to the third string guy. And
well, he'll get. Why I didn't want him to cut him when we first heard about the injury.
Yeah,
and I thought he might even begin the season or have a red shirt year as we've seen happen in the past.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is they don't get to practice. They're not involved in the game planning.
Right.
They don't have that camaraderie with their fellow teammates. They kind of feel like outsiders. I don't know if you ever listened to them talk. The guys that's on the season-long IR, they don't feel like part of the squad.
Right.
And it's almost like a wasted season. Even if he starts out on IR for the first few weeks and he comes back and he don't dress, he dresses, but he's the emergency number 3. So he'll probably not see the field. That's fine because he'll be in the game planning. He'll be in the quarterback meetings. He'll be, around Rodgers and around Rudolph. And around the Arthur Smith and the quarterback's coach. I can't remember who it is now. But he's going to have that exposure to his coaches, his team, the game plan, and then it'll make a much smoother transition. He won't be starting from the ground level. I mean, like starting over like a whole nother rookie year. He'll be ahead of the game. And I think we've seen that a little bit with like Roman Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Fontana, they missed their whole season basically, but they were around, so they kind of hit the ground running. Whereas a lot of rookies, it just feels funny. It's just totally different.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a completely lost season, and it's better for him to be out there practicing in some capacity than not at all. 100%, I agree with that. I just feel that him losing this preseason was detrimental to his evaluation, because now I don't think there's going to be a lot of evaluation on game planning when it comes to what the Steelers are actually doing. Now, he's going to have to do what Mason Rudolph did. And I guess it's a good thing to have Mason Rudolph on the team, because Mason Rudolph kept himself prepared being the third string quarterback. He had to keep himself prepared, ready for in the unlikely event that he did go in. And that's one of the things that Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney and a lot of the coaching staff had praised Mason Rudolph for, was his readiness and his preparation, being the third guy. And still, obviously to be prepared in those scenarios required a lot of work off the clock, so to speak. You weren't going to be able to get all that information while being the third quarterback, being the scout guy. You're supposed to be learning the opposite team's offense, so that way you can portray that to the defense so that they're prepared. And so for him to be prepared, he had to do this off the clock. And well, that's what Will Howard's going to have to do, and he's going to have to show that if he wants to have some sort of I guess belief, if he's going to ever be the franchise guy, because I still fully feel that the Steelers are going to go out in the next year's draft.
Oh yeah,
especially now more so than ever, since they didn't get a chance to see him and get a quarterback in the first round. And I mean, that's a tall hill to battle. A 6th round quarterback that had a red shirt first year versus a first round quarterback, high drafted in the city of Pittsburgh. Good luck.
Yeah, it's funny. I've seen different scenarios. Next year's draft is projected, and we don't know how it's going to work out, but projected to be a lot of quarterback prospects, first round quarterback prospects. But so is 27. Now, again, we're still at least a year away from knowing anything. Mm-hmm. So, but it would not shock me. The Steelers are clearing a lot of cap space, and they're going to have a lot available after this year, because they've done a lot of 1-year deals. Stuff that they're kind of going all in for this season. Yeah. But they're still, every move that they've cut so far is clear up some money and go younger, because I think that's the plan. This is a true rebuild now, fellas. We've not had a rebuild. We've had a reload, they call it, which is a load of crap, but we'll leave it at that. Now they're actually rebuilding. And I think they're trying to clear up space so that they will have, and they're also acquiring draft capital. That's why they're wanting to make these trades, to maybe clear up, add some additional selections that they can package to move up or get who they want. But what if a player in next year's draft, somebody is just too good, generational type, is within the Steelers' reach, and you got a for sure thing generational type, or you got any quarterback, even if it's first round, is still projection. It's still rolling the dice, taking a chance. They might have to go with that generational, more for sure pick, and then revisit everything in 27 at the quarterback position. So I think that's another reason you're not too quick to kick Will Howard off the roster, because especially if they see what Aaron Rodgers says he sees, Ben says he sees. I know he was running 4th string and 3rd string at camp, but every day there was comments coming out from people I follow how good he looked. Mm-hmm. And he was doing it with lesser talent. Now, I guess lesser, level competition as well. But they said you've seen he had control and a grasp of the offense and what needed to be done. And, a lot of quarterbacks never have that. Mm-hmm. So I do think there's something there to work with.
So to me, though, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, that I think that if they're in a position to draft a generational talent at any position, they must not have had a very good year this year. And what position would that be? The Steelers, I think, have had, unless, Broderick Jones completely craps the bed, I think you're settled at the tackle position.
We still don't know.
We don't know, but so far in preseason, he looked solid against the opposition. Much different than what we heard in training camp.
Much better lately, yes.
And so if he doesn't do that, and then Fautanu is what he is projected to be, I mean, you might have a position at the guard position for Seimalu if you're not trying to get one of these backups to end up being his replacement. So, but I'm not sure if you're drafting a guard very high early in the first round either. And so you got to look on the defensive side. I think they've shored up the front. I don't think TJ Watt's going to go anywhere in the corner on the edge, and I'm not sure what Alex Highsmith's contract situation looks like. I don't know how many more years he has, but I don't think he's going to get a percentage-wise contract extension like he did the last time. As far as how much of the cap it was, he's had some injury years, and so I think that might affect that. So I think he'll be affordable, basically, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And so it would be like probably Nick Herbig. I think he still has a couple of years. You got Joey Porter Jr. on the outside. I think he's going to be a guy for a while. So you might have another opening because the other cornerbacks are getting up there in age.
Ramsey, I think, will move to safety full time by next year. I really do. That's what I expect.
And so then you might have a cornerback. So you're looking at a generational cornerback that's there, or possibly a guard or a first round quarterback. You put a lot of eggs in the basket of moving up. You've positioned yourself. I strongly suspect that's still going to be QB.
I mean, that's most likely, yes. I'm just saying that I don't think everybody needs to take it to the bank yet, because how this season goes, what the Steelers see during the year, the development of the team, I think Metcalf's going to be a success. I really do. And I fully think that Roman Wilson's going to step up and be that wide receiver too. But if there's a top receiver, and we know the guys can fall for different reasons, maybe they're not good fits for other teams, but they're perfect for the Steelers. We've seen teams surprise us and put, say, the proverbial cart before the horse and pick a wide receiver that is just a can't miss. You can't, a generational guy you don't want to miss out on because he's perfect for your system.
Right.
So, I mean, I would even include receiver in that possibility as well.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the wide receiver. That would probably be a possibility. If you had a generational wide receiver out there that you could pair with.
And they're so expensive now.
That's true. That is true. That's one position: wide receiver, left tackle, tackles in general, actually, and the quarterback position are the positions that you want to hope to get a lot out of during a rookie contract situation.
Terry McLaurin for the Commanders just signed 3 years, $96 million.
Jeez.
So when you see that and you see how much trouble the Steelers are having, they had to trade for Metcalf and give him $30 million a year. They might be like, hey, we might need to visit receiver again in the next draft.
No doubt. We might have to. Well, we'll be right back, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. If you're listening live, we'll just be back after a few seconds. If you're on the audio only side, we'll have a few words from our sponsors, and we'll see you on the other side. What is up? Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. Before we get back into the conversation, I want to remind you guys of our website, SteelCurtainNetwork.com, your one-stop shop for Pittsburgh Steelers news and coverage. You'll find all the breaking news when it comes to the Steelers, thoughts and opinions there. When the final cut actually does happen and the Steelers are down to 53, you'll find it out there first. So make sure you go check it out. And while you're there, you can check out the audio-only podcast which includes mine. So if all you watch is on YouTube or on X, you're missing a good chunk of content on the website and wherever you find your podcast. Just search up Steel Curtain Network. You'll find mine. State of the Steelers airs out on Saturdays around 11 a.m. Mine just did. I hadn't had one in a couple of weeks because of the schedule. So Steeler games were on Saturday. Life, the length of life of the podcast before the game was going to be shortened, and so because of that, I got a couple of weeks off, and so I'm back in business. Had a podcast this weekend. Go check it out. And so, back into the conversation here. Quarterback position aside, another position that's kind of a lot of eyes on are on the running back position. I think Jaylen Warren has solidified himself as running back one. You and I talked before preseason and talked about the percentages that we thought that Caleb Johnson was going to be getting as far as first and second down, so to speak. I think we both were somewhere around the 50-50 range. Has that changed for you given preseason?
Well, initially, I'm expecting, whereas they didn't play Warren hardly at all. Mm-hmm. He played a handful of snaps the last preseason game. And again, he had a fumble flare up there. And that's kind of been an issue, I think, 6 or 7 now in his career. It's not one of the worst percentages, but it's middle of the pack at best. Mm-hmm. And when you're used to Najee Harris, who never fumbled, Tomlin's not going to accept Warren, his number one running back, laying the ball on the ground. So, but I think he'll always have that issue because as a shorter guy, when he goes, it's hard to keep both pressure points. Take the snap and then take out, and you secure that ball just right. He has trouble because his forearm's shorter, and also he's got a big forearm, which it's a lot of surface area, but it also makes it hard to keep pressure on both points. So I think he'll always have a little issue with that. That's why you see him on some tough inside runs. He does this, puts both arms on the ball, and but usually guys are not as effective running like that. It's more for short yardage only. So I kind of expect now Warren to probably get about 60% of the carries. Mm-hmm. And, it might even at the beginning of the year be 20-20 between Johnson and Gainwell, because Gainwell is a scat back. He's quick. He's able to make people miss in space. He gives them something. All three runners are different. Mm-hmm. And so it might even depend on matchups. Like if the outside zone runs are working well, we might see more Johnson, because Johnson is really made for that. As we've seen in the last preseason game, he had a couple of really nice cutbacks. He committed, put his foot in the ground, and tore in through the hole. He still tripped over his own feet a couple of times. Yeah. But again, that's just nerves and finding his footing and his confidence level at the NFL. Guys, running backs say, man, they're really hitting their stride when they get 15, 20 carries. They get a little fatigued. They feel like they're focused better, and they're not overthinking, and they're not running over their shoes, running over their toes, so to speak. So I don't know if Johnson will get that many carries to do that early in the year. I think later as the year goes on, if the offensive line improves like I think they will, I think he'll get more carries. But I thought Warren looked quick the other night. He looked rusty. And like I said, he fumbled, which was not good. But so I'm going to say to start the year, it's probably going to be more 60 to maybe the other 40% of the carries being split between the other two backs.
Yeah. I honestly thought after Caleb Johnson's preseason that he lost some percentage there as far as how many carries he was going to get. Mm-hmm. I didn't think he was as fluid. I do think that there was some times where he was decisive. He looked good, but I think he he struggled a little bit throughout the games. The last game I thought he did look better as well, but seeing Jalen Warren outside of him putting the ball on the ground, he looked. He had one where he tried to do this weird turnaround and he fell and he lost some yards.
Yeah, that was odd, wasn't it? Yeah.
I was like, I got kind of nervous at first.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing.
But outside that one and putting the ball on the ground, he looked quicker, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And his ability to just hit the hole and go and is amazing. And I felt that he solidified a lot of the snaps. I was thinking that he was going to get majority of the third down snaps, probably somewhere around 70 to 30% with Gainwell. And I thought that there would be some sort of split between Warren and Caleb Johnson on first and second down. But I still think there's going to be a split there, but I think Caleb Johnson's probably going to get, spell duty. And if Warren makes a mistake, obviously I think then we'll probably see a little bit more of him. But I think Kenneth Gainwell may have also increased the amount of percentage of snaps that he got. I thought he looked pretty strong out there. I thought he looked good in pass blocking. I think that was one of the really big weaknesses for Caleb Johnson. Also, the catching the ball out of the backfield was something that it seemed like Caleb struggled a little bit at the beginning of the preseason. Kenneth Gainwell, he's known for being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. So in those scenarios, I just kind of think that Caleb Johnson may have taken a step back as far as the amount of percentage-wise that I thought he was going to get. But I think he's going to progress and he'll get better. It's not the end of the world for him to start off like that.
No, I think it's more realistic. Again, he's very talented, but he's a third rounder for a reason. And we know that Gainwell knows what it's like to play for a champion, was a real contributor for a champion, has been a solid player, very versatile. You can line him up in the slot or out wide and try to get him on the matchup on a linebacker or a safety, and they can't cover it. Very few, at least. And so I think that the Gainwell is going to just be another weapon in the arsenal for Arthur Smith. I mean, especially one of the biggest encouragements, and I know you feel the same way, is using the middle of the field again. Oh, my gosh. We're seeing the quarterbacks throw crossing routes to Wilson, seam routes to Washington and other tight ends, and throw it to the running backs, not as a check down out of desperation, but a planned screen or a planned matchup created due to the formation and the play call. That's something we just hadn't seen in so long. So I think they got a lot more weapons this year.
Yeah, they definitely do. I agree. Now, cut down is coming soon. Do you think the Steelers are keeping 3? Do you think Trey Sermon made an impression for the Steelers to keep 4 backs on the 53?
I expect Sermon or Nichols or maybe both to be on the practice squad. I don't know if I've heard that Sermon can return kicks. I don't want Caleb Johnson returning kicks for various reasons. One, we don't need to see him getting hurt trying to return a kick. And it seems like that he gets his mind made up where he's going and he runs up in there even if he's getting ready to take a huge lick. Some guys are shifty and can make guys miss a little and can avoid those huge collisions. Johnson just runs right into them. So I would rather, if Sermon can return kickoffs and give him a short yardage back, and maybe even throw a block as an emergency fullback, he might get sneak out there.
Man, that hit on Johnson on that return, though.
Oh, man. He can't take too many of them in the NFL.
I felt so bad for him. I was like, I remember his welcome to the NFL moment.
Oh, yeah.
He's asked. Yes. Tight ends, Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington, Connor Hayward. You think all 4 of these guys are making the team?
Arthur Smith loves tight ends. He's going to use a lot of them. He's going to use a lot of three sets, 13 sets, I believe. Mm-hmm. And because Donner Smith can play like a wide receiver too. We haven't got to see him at all. But I've watched him for years now, and so, we all have. And Donner Smith is a very talented receiver. He's kind of like Vermuth. He tries to block.
Yeah.
But the blocking that's Darnell Washington. And the Mountain can catch the ball. And we're seeing that, even though they didn't even throw to him at all last game. Because they already seen what they needed to see. Now just maybe everybody will forget by the first week and they can sneak him in there for another one. But, I think Connor makes it, one, because of who his brother is, one, because Aaron Rodgers spoke highly of him, and because he's versatile. And I think he'll still be out there because of special teams, can play fullback, can catch the ball. We've seen him do jet sweeps. I mean, he can do some things as that Swiss Army knife type player.
Got you. Yeah. Yeah, he definitely does like the tight end. So you're probably right. I'm going to see them all there. I think they're going to have all their roles,
Yeah.
I wouldn't select any for fantasy because I think they're not going to have very many opportunities. I think there's going to be a lot of split touches there between the four players. Are you any concerned that Jonnu Smith hasn't participated at all during this time?
What was he dealing with, a knee?
He was dealing with something. I mean, it wasn't really disclosed, but I thought it was a knee. I thought it had to do with some knee swelling. Yeah, it said some knee swelling or something like that during one of the preseason games.
And I think whereas he was coming off the Pro Bowl season, and you pretty much know what the role is, what everybody can expect. You expect Rodgers to use him as a security blanket and develop a rapport with him right off the bat. So I'm really not surprised. If they were really worried about him re-aggravating that knee in any way, they would just rather give him the 4 weeks of camp and the preseason to get it better.
Yeah.
I would have liked to seen Rodgers and Metcalf at least put the uniform on and go out there and break a sweat. But they decided not to. So what they've been doing in the past, like I said, Tomlin changed a lot this preseason and these training camp because what he's done in the past hasn't worked. It really hasn't. And I think he tried something different. And by bringing in all these older players and that they're going to be relying on, they just kind of protected them, which, well, think about it, they didn't have Aaron Rodgers pushing a blocking sled.
No, I really sincerely hope they didn't. That was the only concern for me. This is a guy that I think is expected to touch the football a lot. I think he does have an advantage that he's been in the Arthur Smith offense for some time.
Yeah.
And so that gives him somewhat of an edge. But, the chemistry building and, those things I think are real things that need to be accounted for when it comes to the performance on the field. I mean, there's going to be some growing pains, and I think they did not minimize those growing pains by any means by not playing the players at all. So, I mean, I'm expecting there to be some growing pains. Do you think, I know this is a little bit early, but the Steelers didn't score a touchdown on the first drive of any game last season. Do you think they end this first game?
I've really not paid a lot of attention to the Jets. I guess I don't watch a lot of other teams' preseason games.
Yeah.
Especially early in the first one or even the second, because so many teams don't play their starters.
Right.
And so I think a lot of teams are going to be rusty coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've seen the Bengals, who have sucked the first 3 weeks forever. Now they played their starters up because they don't want a repeat, and they're going to try to come out They take advantage of other teams not playing their starters. And it might work. I think that Steelers surprised the Bills because the Steelers starters had some playing time in the preseason, and the Bills guys hadn't. And the Bills were really rusty that first game, and the Steelers beat them. So,
that's true.
But in this case, I don't know how much the Jets played their starters. So, I think the Steelers are a better team than the Jets, hands down. But it is in New York, and you just don't know because we don't know what Rodgers is going to look like in the black and gold until we see him in the black and gold. But I think he will be properly motivated to want to win that against his old team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially with how it went down. I mean, if it went down the way he said it went down, he flew himself out across country just to be told he's fired. You have to have a burning inside of you for go up against that. The wide receiver position. Any surprises do you see coming out of the wide receiver room, whether there's somebody that makes the team or somebody that doesn't?
Well, I was pretty confident on who it was going to be. And then Skowronek, however you say his name, he hurt his toe, I think, or something like that, or ankle, but he'll be back. But you got Metcalf.
Yeah.
And you got Roman Wilson, who I think will end up wide receiver too. I really do. I think Calvin Austin, they'll ease him back, where he's just now running some routes in practice.
Right.
Scotty Miller out of nowhere made this team. I'll be floored if he don't make it. I mean, he looks just like one of the most competent guys they got.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to Ben Skowronek and Brandon Johnson. I think his name Brandon.
Yeah, there's a Brandon Johnson and a Robert Woods.
Yeah, I think Robert Woods is cut. I'm shocked he didn't get cut today. I think that I think his time is gone. I think he's a 13-year vet or something like that. He was playing with the 4-string guys, and he wasn't even looking good then. He looked slow. He doesn't look as big as he is. I don't think they need him. I think Skowronek has got that hands down. And Brandon Johnson has got reliable hands and knows the system, and he catches anything you throw to him, but he can get open on third down. So, and that's only if they keep 6. They might only keep 5.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep less than that, then they're trying to bring in somebody. But I don't think they'll show that hand. To me, I think you're right. I think Metcalf, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller are for sure guys on the team. Brandon Johnson, I think he showed himself well. I do think the Steelers are going to pick up somebody from the outside. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Ben Skowronek ends up being a guy that ends up on IR for a little bit.
It could happen, yeah.
Based on his injury. And so, but I do think they're going to bring in a guy, because when you look at Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and Scotty Miller, even Aaron Rodgers said it. Those are very similar guys. Those are 3 speedy, shorter,
mighty mites.
Yeah, wide receivers that kind of do a lot of the same thing. It's like having 3 Brooks in chess. I don't know if you can do that. And
I would love, Daniel, for them to trade for like an Alex Pierce with the Colts, or Romeo Dobbs with the Packers. I'd like to see a young guy that could come in and be around as this team's developing over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And be already in place. So when you do really want to focus on a quarterback next year, you got your receivers taken care of. If the offensive line develops, you'll have your offensive line pretty much taken care of. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Have the pieces in place like they did when they put Ben. They took Ben, and then he had to play, but it was a match made in heaven because he was ready. They just needed the quarterback. I would love to see them make a trade before the season starts and bring one of them, a guy like that in.
Yeah. 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 No, that would be nice. I mean, I think they need another receiver. There's too many receivers that are similar, too much of the same.
But
I
there's
think
only one Metcalf.
there's only one Metcalf.
Yeah.
There's only one of those guys. But you have a lot of speedier, smaller guys, and I think you need more of um, a bigger body guy that can block too. That's not, I'm not saying that Roman Wilson and them can't. I think they have the heart and they have the will. I just don't know if they have the size.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And the two guys I mentioned are bigger.
Yeah.
And they have that ability to stretch the field, which is what, if Metcalf goes out, these guys are super fast. Wilson, Miller, and Calvin Austin can all fly. But again, smaller. So Rodgers mentioned it this week. Metcalf can fly. He's not only built like a linebacker, but he runs like a little guy. Yeah. So the Steelers have got one of the fastest wide receiver units right now in the NFL.
I agree. Transitioning to the defensive side, there's really one position that all eyes are on as far as who's going to make the team, and with a lot of controversy, so to speak. And that's the cornerback position. There's quite a few. You have Darius Slay, you have Joey Porter Jr., and you have Ramsey, who are obviously going to make the team. I think you have what was his name? The one that number 26. Can't think of his name.
Eccles.
I thought he played very, very good.
He's very good. Yeah.
I mean, and he's a lot younger than I thought he was. I thought he was older. He's like 26, 27 years old.
Yeah.
Young player, can play on the outside, can play in the nickel. Corey Trice and Beanie Bishop, I think, is what a lot of people have come down to are either one of them going to make the team and James Pierre. Yeah. Which one of these three are making the team? Is it going to be one? Is it going to be two? Is it going to be none? Where do you feel on these three players, and who do you think is going to be likely on the 53?
I look at it a little different. As I think two of the three make it.
Okay.
The reason why is you have two older corners, and definitely with his name's escaping me now. Slay,
Darius Slay,
and Ramsey, who I think will play some slot and some safety, and eventually move to safety full time. So I think the Steelers will think beyond just this year, and that's one of the reasons with Eccles here, he looks really good, and that's excellent to have him in the slot, and he can play a little outside. The other three guys, they all have strengths and weaknesses. And what's going to hurt is like Pierre doesn't have prototypical measurables, especially speed. Right. But he has the toughness, the tenacity, and he has the availability. He is there. He doesn't get hurt. He's a great gunner. He offers you a lot on special teams. What hurts him there is they have gunners now. Guys like Eccles can be a gunner. Schroenick is a great gunner, we know already. And his special teams value could be some of it taken up by that and the fact that they have Bruner, because Bruner looks really good on special teams as well. Even though he plays a different position, he would still fill that similar role on the special teams. Corey Trice has every attribute that you need to be an NFL corner, but his only ability that he's missing is availability, and therefore you come down to Beanie Bishop, who is more of a specialist, but I think he fits the culture, and I think he's underrated. I think he's kind of like Mike Hilton. The Steelers won't appreciate him fully till he's gone, and I'd really rather not see him flourish somewhere else. I'd rather see him stay and flourish in the black and gold. So I'm actually feeling right now that Corey Trice, they could try some kind of IR for him. I don't know. I just don't know how long are you going to keep hoping that a guy does the one thing, it proves to be the one thing he's never been, which is available and durable. I just think that it's just not in the cards.
Yeah, I think that Corey Trice is definitely on the edge there. I think Beanie Bishop is. I think James Pierre, he played okay during preseason. He had a pick. He wasn't a liability out there, although he was getting highlighted in I think it was Friday Night Lights against Rock Taylor. He was he's getting beat back pretty bad. But outside of those,
his weaknesses, but you also know what you're getting.
That's true.
And like I said, with he's reliable. But the thing about Tracy, you just can't count on him.
No, you can't. You can, and I think it'll be interesting in which route they go. I think they end up keeping two. I think it's going to come down to Trice and Beanie Bishop. I think they're going to try to see. I think they're going to try to pick up the phone on either one of them, to be honest with you, and see if anybody calls in and wants to make a deal.
Get some more capital. Yeah.
So, but I think these guys would probably be alongside with whoever it is that they cut would be alongside Cameron Johnston and Ben Sauls at that last second mark, getting cut right when they need to, because nobody picked up a trade. If nobody picks up a trade.
Yeah.
So what do you got going on the rest of this week there, Shannon? Let everybody know what you have going on.
Well, for sure. Of course, Pump Your Brakes Wednesday at 8. Might be doing Smash the Gas at 7:30. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, definitely tune in Wednesday at 8 for Pump Your Brakes, and we'll know more then. And I'm sure that me and Big G, we seldom have much to say or a lot of opinions, but you never know what we'll say. Well, just show up anyway.
Yeah, that's the perfect attention getter. Go out there, perfect promotion. Make sure you watch Pump Your Brakes, and then don't forget Saturdays, State of the Steelers, my podcast on the Steel Curtain Network, audio only. Go check it out. For everybody here, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. You guys know what to do. Shannon, take us out, my man.